Welcome to Golden Mastermind Seminars Radio with your host, Jeffrey Combs.
Good afternoon, everyone. Jeffery Combs, president and founder of Golden Mastermind Seminars Incorporated. Welcome to Tuesday Facebook Live. Good to be here with you on a breathe, release, and let go day. No longer the mind-body connection to the events that shape the feelings. Breathing, releasing, and letting go at 67 years young. It's been a very productive morning in the Golden Mastermind Seminar Studio and also hosting a construction project going on at my second home. So, as I said, a lot of moving parts here, and a new marketing campaign has been launched this afternoon. So if you are here with me on the last Tuesday of April, it is good to be here with you. Paige, good to see you this afternoon from Savannah, Georgia. It's a breathe, release, and let go day. Every day is a let go day. So good to be here with you. And we're going to cover letting go of disappointment. Disappointment is a very, very deep and misunderstood subject. Very few people are able to comprehend and or grasp that they themselves are addicted to disappointment, and then that fulfills the neurochemical craving that they are emotionally addicted to, which leads to their payoff. And it shows up in business, life, it shows up in relationships, it shows up in careers. Most of you, if you have a job, are either under-earners or you're being underpaid. So in most of you that have a job, you're not getting paid your value for the job, you're getting paid what the job is worth. Many of you are very skilled at your jobs and careers, and you're not being compensated for it, and that can lead to disappointment. And letting go of disappointment, what you learn to let go of, is to let go of the events that shape those feelings. If you grew up in a household where you are an accident, if you grow up in a household where you're an adult child of, and then you fill in the blank, narcissists, alcoholics, codependents, multitude of situations, if you are an adult child of any of these other addictions and you're in this fight or flight situation growing up and you're criticized, singled out, pointed out, you're not good enough, you don't pass the test, whatever the situation is, you find yourself not feeling good enough, then you're a disappointment. You've been a disappointment to someone else, and this is why so many people be and stay in this disappointed state of conscious unconsciousness. And the breakthrough factor and letting go is the remedy to be able to change that energy of not being good enough and accept that I am good enough, accept that you are capable, and that you are as good as anyone else. I myself, in recovery of this, I used to go to my early events in free enterprise. I'd go to the workshops and the conventions. I'd be cheering for the other people on stage. While in actuality, I was jealous and envious because they were getting the love, they were getting the money, and I was not. And I was disappointed, and I wanted instant gratification. I was coming off the back end of 14 years of addiction. I felt like I was behind in life. I had major legal issues that I had to overcome, and I felt so behind the 8 ball. That was my own term. I'm behind the 8 ball. So the 8 ball is it's a white ball and a black ball. It's a very, very unique lore of Freemasonry and in voting. The black ball means you're being blackballed, and the white ball means you get the vote. I just found this recently. It's very, being blackballed means you don't get the vote. That's the lore of that whole term, blackballed. And if you are the black sheep of the family or blackballed, you're a disappointment. You don't fit in. And so this is what happens to many people, or you're blackballed by the beautiful people at school, and you're singled out and traumatized, or any multitude of other situations, then you're going to feel disappointed. And if you in the birth order, if you have a brilliant child ahead of you, and you're not as brilliant as that child ahead of you, there can be expectations placed on you that are not real and are not fair. And if that is the situation, today is a great day to really address that and breathe, release, and let go, so that you are no longer the mind-body connection to feeling and being disappointed. The byproduct of disappointment is being critical of self, and other people are critical of you. We will tend to mate, date, and marry someone who will criticize us if we grow up with narcissistic parents, or parents that are highly critical of us. And we absolutely can change that behavior by having better boundaries in that relationship, leaving that relationship, letting go of an employer. If you've ever had an employer that's highly critical of you. I used to work for a sales manager who had never sold, and he was chronically disappointed in his sales staff and his sales team, yet he himself had never sold. And we used to dread the sales meetings because he would chew us out and threaten us with their job. But once again, here's a man who never had sold anything in his life, and he was kicked downstairs from upper management, and he resented that and then resented us because we were not good enough in his eyes. And these are just common stories and events that shape our feelings. And if you have a highly critical parent that singled you out, there's a high probability that you are still carrying some of that disappointment with you, and it is a mind-body connection, and it will show up in the relationships you do and don't attract. And as you have a better understanding of what it means to be which is not, appointment, you don't get the appointment, which means you feel not good enough. And that's the real understanding of disappointment. Disappointment also will be a byproduct of the events that shape your feelings, but the way it will continue to manifest is the payoff. And the payoff means becoming addicted to experiencing the experience. And so the house you list, and at the very last minute, the deal falls apart, or the buyer changes their mind, or the lending company chooses not to, or you're selling real estate, or you're selling insurance, and you have this great policy you're writing, and it goes to underwriting, and they kick it back because of some medical claim, and you were already romancing the money you were going to get, this $10,000 payoff, and it didn't happen. So now you're disappointed. So once again, this is the white ball, black ball, the white and black checkerboard of Freemasonry, that you want to have a better understanding of trauma-based mind control and how you have been conditioned to operate in free enterprise and the job force. And if you can't meet the standards of someone else, or you can't make the quota, or you find yourself procrastinating and avoiding, and that will be the shame and the guilt that you will hold on to be, stay, and feel disappointed. I can't find any good men out there. There aren't any good women out there, and I can't find any friends. There's no one for me to connect with. I mean, this is how the lower self will continue to perpetuate a set of feelings. It'll validate the set of feelings to recreate the same situation, because emotions have a corresponding future. Meaning in your future reality, you will continue to attract the people to fulfill those feelings. And then the lower self with the little s that lives in fight or flight will recreate situations to fulfill those feelings. I want to say Alicia, Valerie, Christina, Bob, always good to see you. I saw Dr. Kelly, John, Paige. Thank you for being here on Tuesday afternoon, Facebook Live. The topic is letting go of disappointment. Now, this is a major component of my coaching. Very few people ever cross the bridge to understand and or can integrate and step into the power of an understand. So, in letting go of the denial that you're addicted to disappointment. And if you're able to honor that and understand that the men I attract, the women I attract, the teammates, the customers, the clients, the vendors, the contractors, if you can understand that you're attracting people who you set up to disappoint you, or you disappoint yourself, if you can admit that, that is called rigorous honesty. And so you are admitting a character defect. And as you admit that character defect, you're actually crossing the bridge. So that's where you start to access the gratitude, that you're able to access the courage to address the situation for what it is, so you can begin the healing and, most importantly, the let go process. Letting go is your ability in the present to separate the feelings, so you can be right here, right now, so you can be and stay present, so that you can adapt and adjust to the situation at hand, so your eyes can see both ways, so your eyes can sense and feel what's going on around you, and you have a sense of purpose, and you're not purposeless, or you're not hopeless. So when you live in hopelessness, you're going to be disappointed. And disappointment is anchored in two major emotions. It's anchored in apathy, which is at the bottom of the scale of consciousness, of anxiety, fear, and doubt. And then at the top of anxiety, fear, and doubt is the anger family, which is anger, hate, frustration, disappointment, rage, and envy. So these are some of the feelings that you will hold on to. Anger calibrates out higher than apathy and grief. Grief and apathy are at the bottom of the map of consciousness. They calibrate energetically around 25 to 50 cycles a second, or hertz. So energy is measured. And when you're around someone that lives in this low level of transmutational energy, these are the chronic complainers, the spiritual emotional vampires. And then the highest level of that anxiety, fear, and doubt is anger. So if you're around narcissists are very angry people. And so they give off a corresponding future. So they're transmitting this anger, and it's also called shedding. And if you're not skilled in boundaries, you can actually take on this energy, and you can feel depleted by being around these people. So if you're around a negative boss, or if you're around a hostile boss or manager, or you're in an environment, in a work environment that is absolutely toxic, and you're not able to remove yourself from that, then it's your responsibility to really have those boundaries and create an exit strategy. Now, the challenge is that most people that are addicted to disappointment will actually read books, or let me rephrase that. There is a sector of society that is seeking to break through, but they're trauma bonded to their disappointment. And then what they do is they tend to take on so many other obligations. How many of you do this? You have animals and children, and then your children in sports and cheerleading, and then you're in church, and then you're volunteering, and you're doing this, and you're doing that, and then you have a job, and you're expected to work overtime and weekends, and you wake up one day and you realize that you don't have a moment of free time because you're not only addicted to disappointment, you're an addicted codependent, over-obligator, enabler, doing more for others than you do for yourself, and you don't have a life. And you don't have a life because you are disappointed, frustrated, over-obligating, enabling. Now, it's not specifically your fault. It is a fact, though, that if you have codependent tendencies, that you were groomed for it in childhood, and that you had to take on a role that wasn't your responsibility, and then you've lived out most of that role most of your life. Well, if the pain is great enough, you absolutely can begin the process of recovery. You can begin to separate your feelings from the events that shape them. You can step into your higher power, and you can really deeply begin to release these feelings that you hold on to. Now, when I interview clients and when I coach clients and I see people in life, I can feel and read their energy like this. So I can feel these emotional spiritual vampires. I can feel these people are setting me up to disappoint them. I can see these clients that I don't want to take on as partners or coaching clients because they would be setting me up to disappoint them. Now, they don't recognize this, and so they're shocked, and they tend to be very sensitive and very defensive. And these are the people that I encounter that don't really want coaching, but they want someone to coach them so they can be disappointed. Now, you also encounter this in your own businesses. I mean, if you're a real estate agent, you're going to find these people. It doesn't mean you attract them, but they're part of the 80%. Or if you're a high school coach, you're going to have the parents who, no matter what you do, little Johnny should be in the starting five. Or Susan should be on the volleyball team even though she has zero talent. Or Patty should be the lead cheerleader even though she can't perform admirably. Or your son or daughter should be going to a top-tier school with a 3 to 5% acceptance rate, but their 4.0 grade point doesn't cut it in today's world when you can't even get into most top 20 colleges with a 4.6 in today's world. I coach 2 top-tier students right now that have 4.7 grade averages. Now, in my day, it was 4.0. It means they're taking college courses as juniors and seniors, and I've learned a lot in coaching them about what the acceptance rate. Stanford has the lowest acceptance rate in America, at 3% acceptance rate. Then you're looking at Johns Hopkins. You're looking at Cal has a 15%. University of California, UCLA is 7%. I mean, I've memorized all these from coaching these clients over the few years. And so many of their parents are disappointed in them because they don't get into these top 5 schools: Johns Hopkins, Harvard, Yale, Stanford, and then Caltech is another one, and that Harvey Mudd University. I mean, some of these very, very top tier schools, parents put a lot of pressure on their children. Children put pressure on themselves. They don't get accepted, but they can go to other top tier schools, but they live in this disappointment. Now, if you also grew up in a situation where there are expectations placed on you that you're not capable to meet, the moving target that is in front of you, and then you have a parent who's disappointed in you. If you're a protege tennis player and you get injured and your career is over, or if situations like that happen to you and your career doesn't pan out, then you have a parent who blames you for ruining their life because how dare you not fulfill their dreams. So if that's the situation, that means you also have been consistently groomed to not be good enough and be disappointed. And it also means you don't get to have a life. It creates resentment issues, creates gut issues, a multitude of situations. I've coached multiple top-tier tennis players who are tennis prodigies and tennis players who didn't make it pro, whose parents were disappointed because of all the money they spent. And then it's very common for a top-tier player who is so burnt out either by the end of high school or the end of college that they never play the sport again because they now resent it because it lost the fun, because someone else put the pressure on them. So this is what you want to take a look at, the whole package of disappointment. If you find yourself frequently disappointed, if you find yourself avoiding, you find yourself procrastinating, this will fulfill your disappointment. If you don't ever get the girl, get the guy, get the appointment, get the job, close the sale, if you have challenges doing this and you're not comfortable with yourself, this will lead to disappointed. So in disappointment, people who are addicted to disappointment cannot receive a compliment. So they may close 7 sales in a month, but 7 wasn't 10. Even though 7's good, it wasn't great. And so when someone compliments it, it just goes right over their head. I've done it hundreds of times to people who don't hear the compliment. In my coaching calls, I will point that out. Do you understand that I just gave you a compliment? It's your responsibility to open your heart to receive. Oh, okay. See, it just rolls off them because it's so foreign to them because they're not accustomed to receiving love, joy, bliss, enlightenment, compliments, and a transference of high consciousness energy because of addiction to disappointment. And if this is you, today is a very good day to begin to step into the power of letting go, let go of the denial of why you do what you do, let go of the story of you had a great childhood while you're struggling in adulthood, and have a better understanding of the cause that creates the effect of why you do what you do. That's what creates the separation of the feelings from the events that shape them. And as you step into that power, then you are no longer the mind-body connection to the events that shape the feelings. If you are an under-earner, an underachiever, not compensated what you feel your value is, if you have challenges with relationships and attracting the ideal relationships that you're seeking or you know that you deserve, yet you're not reaching them, if you're under-earning and underachieving and you have performance anxiety, reach out to me, let go of your story, and reach out to me and speak to me about how I can assist you to let go of the addiction to disappointment. If you don't address this, if you don't let go of this, this will continue to haunt you, and you'll tiptoe quietly through life or your grave, living the greatest pain, the pain of regret, which regret is disappointment. My name is Jeffery Combs, president and founder, Golden Mastermind Seminars Incorporated, and you know who you are, you know who you've been thinking about it, so just do it. Reach out to me, and I will converse with you on how I can assist you to let go of anxiety, fear, and doubt, and specifically the disappointment energy that you hold on to. Have a great afternoon.